Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 16 breakdown for the Play TCG Webcam Regional for the One Piece card game. This is technically the first regional for OP03 for the North American region, so really excited to cover this and just kind of go on over it. So yeah, it was 512 players. There are 9 rounds of Swiss here, and then we did hit this top 16 here. And real quick, looking at it, it is a whole lot of red, which I know a lot of people are not maybe surprised about, maybe upset about, but we do have 7 Zoros, 5 Newgates, and then also one of Lucci, Katakuri, Smoker, and a Ace sneaking in on that 16th place. So obviously a lot of red, and I know that's something that a lot of people are just really maybe intimidated about. There's no blue, there's no Trafalgar Law, which I'm actually a little bit surprised about myself. I'm surprised that's not in there in its own way, and yeah, we are going to go over this one, but I don't know really how I feel about seeing such a high amount of Zoro and Newgate, especially since they obviously were very strong for this next one. So I might make a video of my thoughts going over these leaders for the near side future, but we are just going to go over the top placing list for each one of these leaders, and we're going to start off with Deep Patel's first place Zoro here. So this is Zoro's been very strong in a lot of ways, and I do think this is a bit of a unique build. It's one that I haven't been seeing in a little bit. It also was the same build that was Richard was playing for 4th place right here. So very same build right here with everything. But with this one specifically, some cards that I want to mention is that there's no buggies and there's no event cards, which is a little bit unique. I'd say that most of the builds I've been seeing more recently, obviously Izo is a strong card, and you use that to try to find more of your Whitebeard stuff, including your events, which can kind of go into like having Fire Fist and such. But this one has no event cards, which is a little bit silly. Maybe not bad silly, but just compared to all the other lists I've seen. And it looks kind of more of like the set 2 version of Zoro, where you're just a little, very aggressive. We have 4 copies of Makino, 4 copies of Magra. There are no Otamas in this build at all, so there's no ways for you to do some value trades, because there's also no Gordons, and in general there were not a lot of Gordons in these topping lists either. And then we also have the new card, the Haruda, which is kind of like the Nami effect, just activate main once per turn. Give up to 1 Rested Dawn card to one of your leaders or characters. So being able to use that, I think, is great. It is a Whitebeard Pirates too, so it's another target for Izo to find, which is nice. And even without the event cards, we do have the Vistas, we have the Jozus, as well as the Marcos for your Izo to find, and I think that's very strong. So I'd say this is more aggressive than what we normally see. A lot of Zoros right now, at least at the start of OP03, have been very mid-range base and a lot of value, and will have a lot of removal. But this one seems to be doing very strong. And then the top end just being Luffy and Marco, which are both obviously very strong cards in their own right. This Zoro doesn't have lasting power, no 9-drop Newgate either, but did win the entire event. And congratulations to Deep Patel for their finish there. So there is the Zoro list. We're going to look at our this is our Rob Lucci, our only one who got into the top. And this is a interesting build too, in a lot of ways. So we do have some cards that I honestly don't consider to be cards I put in my own copies of Rob Lucci. We have been seeing it top occasionally, but this one's unique in its ratios in a lot of ways. So this is the Air Door version, which is already a decision point for a lot of people. Where do you use it for? Do you look at more Marines? Like this card can whiff every once in a while. If it does, you sometimes just lose the game because you did pay an entire 4 for it. But these are a little bit tight ratios, since we are running 4 Blue Nose, 4 Kakus, 2 Kumadoris, the Fukuru, the Khalifa, and the brand new as well. So not you can I'd say there's a bit of risk with running Air Door in this version, but seem to be doing okay. We also are running the brand new, only 2 copies of it, but to find Navy cards. So our Kuzans, which are only running 2 of the 4 drops, as well as 4 of the Borsalinos, which are, I think, strong no matter what. 4 Sakazukis, which is quite a bit, and then 2 of the Isho and 2 of the Kuzans, which you can't find. So there's also the 6-drop Rob Lucci, which I normally do not see in these builds, but you may return 2 cards with CP9 from your trash to bottom of your deck in order this gains rush for the turn. So I mean, a 6K, 7K, or 6-drop 7K with rush is fine, and if you are running more of a a CP9 version of the deck, it can get some value. It obviously doesn't have any counter for it, and rush is just okay for this deck for what you're wanting for it. But there are probably some chances where if your opponent doesn't expect one more attack, this can get the game too. So I think it's okay at 2 of, but generically, I do not see this card seeing any play. So to see it getting, top 8 in this tournament with it is I'd say pretty unique for it. So otherwise, there's not a lot of cards for deviation for CP9. You obviously run a lot of Navy cards that you are able to use for for your brand new and stuff, but there's also no impact wave, which is generically a really good counter for this, and it's Navy, so it's searchable and has a really good effect in life. But a bit of a unique Rob Lucci build here, and congratulations to Philip for their finish there. Next up, we have Jonathan with their Newgate, and most of these Newgate builds have kind of been conglomerating to very similar looking builds in a lot of ways. We do have like our 1-drop package of Otama, Makino, Izo. Josu's already for it because we can give it rush and this can attack for game, and I've seen it several times soon. So we're running both of our Marcos. We have our Atmos for just a vanilla play on 4 Dawn, as well as Thatch, which Thatch, if this comes down, it's very intimidating as a 6 cost there. 2 aces, Newgates, and then a bunch of event cards too. I will say Fire Fist is usually not run in Newgate, but it is a Whitebeard's Pirate. The other thing is that it does have a pretty okay trigger, but you almost never trigger life effects with Newgate either. So that's something that's not as popular for it. But if you are worried about decks like Trafalgar Law, which honestly, like looking through these decks, a lot of them did tech around Trafalgar Law, or was running at least a copy or 2 of Fire Fist besides the 1st and 4th place list. So I do think that these decisions may have made it harder for Law to top, which is maybe why it didn't for this event. But again, this is a strong card, and it is a Whitebeard's Pirate, so you can discard it with either one of your Marco's effects, so it's not really dead in hand, but you do also just not build stuff on your own board. So this is the list there. Congratulations to Jonathan for their finish. And next up we have our only yellow deck, our only Katakuri. This is Isaac's Katakuri list here, and I will say, like, I've been wrong about building yellow a little bit, mostly with just these vanillas of Opera and Peckhams in a lot of ways. I think that I think they're actually stronger than they want, and sometimes like they're just like really good backup cards, right? I think when yellow first came out and when I was testing a lot, it's like, oh, of course, you run all your trigger cards and you try to do really well, but outside of Espira, you have like no turn 3 Dawn play, right? And it's sometimes like even without pudding. So being able to have like Peckhams is just like a backup 3 drop is fine, especially since it's a 5k, and then Opera as well. And I've also ran into situations where there are just so many decks that are running Fire Fist that if I'm not playing around it, let's say I did like turn 1 Pudding and then turn 2 Espira or something like that, they could just Fire Fist them away, and then I just kind of lost all my board stuff, right? So Opera just being a 6k and getting out of that is actually very strong in its own right. It also means that they can't just like Otama Marco it because it's not a 5k. So I think this card is worth running it, and it's something that I have been running. So I've been putting, it's more, I run Charlotte Linlin a little bit more, but I have been running these cards, and I do think they are strong. So definitely consider running vanillas. Vanillas are still really good in this game, which is kind of weird. So other than that, we do have the the yellow has a pretty small card pool considering all the other colors. So everything else is pretty understood. Running 3 of the Katakuris, which I also have been liking. At the beginning of the format, I didn't like this card a lot because I felt like the tempo that you lost or gained with it wasn't really worth it most of the time. But being able to use it to get rid of a really, like, I've been finding more and more of like healing my own cards and more of just doing damage to my opponent by getting rid of the big card they just played and then using the Charlotte Linlin the next turn to get rid of it from their life. I think that's a really, really good way to get the most advantage from these cards. So I've been liking this more. I haven't been playing as much as a 7-drop. It is like good, on curve on turn 7, but outside of that, it's a little weak. So I do like the rest here. So, and there's some sovereignties and some thunderbolts and everything else, but yellow's in I think a pretty good spot. I think there are a lot of ways to play it. I didn't get a lot of tops for this event, which is a little bit surprising for me because I know a lot of people are probably on it, but and it doesn't have a terrible red matchup either. I think there are some times where you can. Newgate's super weird for the deck because they're going to be at 0 life, and so your 10 drop doesn't do as much damage, but it is a really interesting build too. So anyways, there we go. This is Isaac's build there, so congratulations to Isaac. Next up we have a Smoker, so this is Ollie's version of it, and I was playing Smoker this week on my live stream and testing it a lot. And I really do like Smoker. I do think there's some really cool stuff with it, and the removal with him is a little bit better than Rob Lucci, just with the effect that you are able to do with your leader. So being able to do this to get something down to 1 more means that there's just more cards for you to be in range with Kaku. And I think like you are totally fine running like the CP9 stuff, just because you can be running the Fukuru, Khalifa, and Bluno as well. There's also no 10-drop Kuzan in this build, which I was not running that card either. I think the card is very good, but sometimes you just don't get enough, time to play it late game. So you might be missing a little bit, but that's fine. We also have like the 6 King Pistol, which is a CP9 card, which means that you can use it to bottom deck with Kaku to get the resolve. So that's really nice for you. It's just a trash 1 card for your hand up to one of your leaders or characters gets plus 3k power during this battle. So if you have a bunch of dead cards in your hand, which black can sometimes do, being able to convert it into a 1k and a 2k to make that 3k can be very strong there. Also, the trigger effect, just being able to draw a card and KO something 1 or less is, sometimes pops up. So I like the idea. And then we're running 4 Sakazukis and 3 of the E-shows, and I think that gets the job done a lot of the time. So also Meteor Volcano is very good right now. I think there's a lot of things that this can hit, and if you do just have Kuzan sitting up and attack with it, then Meteor Volcano can get rid of a 5 cost all by itself. So, and then 6 cost if you have Smoker, which again, those are some actually really good removal targets. So I like Meteor Volcano. I think it's a good card too, and that's pretty much it. So congratulations to Ollie for their top 16 there. And to wrap it up, we do have Raymond with their 16th place Ace. And I still don't really know how I feel about Ace. I think it is not the best red deck, but since it's red, it does have a lot of good matchups inherently. You do have a lot of removal, which means that sometimes you have a hard time against black just because they have like Sakazuki, and just their blockers are really hard to get rid of in general. So it's sometimes a little bit slow for what it is too, but like if you get endgame, it's very good. Sometimes you will be able to just stick a Flame Emperor and do double attack, which is great. But I'm still up in the air for how I feel about this deck. So it is strong. I'm probably going to be testing it sometime later this week myself. So if you haven't been following me on Twitch, make sure to do that, because I expect to probably do some Ace testing probably Tuesday or Thursday. But I think there is a lot of good removal for it. I think this is a good matchup against Trafalgar Law again, which didn't get into top 16 this time, but I know people were playing it. And Seaquake can be very good, just being able to get things in the range, especially like Ace, giving stuff minus 3k. So that means like with 8 Dawn, you can Seaquake with Ace to get something with 6k or less, which is great. And there are a lot of good things you can do with this deck, and this leader specifically, but it is a little bit tricky sometimes to get there as well. So anyways, that is the list here. Congratulations to Raymond for their finish, and that's going to be it for our breakdown today. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you very much to Play TCG for running the event, as well as dropping out the deck list for us to cover today, and that's going to be it for me. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it. Damn it.